Just in, Princess Leonor's surprise appearance stuns King Willem-Alexander. Europe reacts. They expected a routine royal gathering. Diplomats, monarchs, and dignitaries gathered under golden chandeliers and the soft hum of violins. But then, silence. Every head turned. Every camera clicked. Because the last person anyone expected to see was Princess Leonor of Spain. Unannounced, unscheduled, unforgettable. And at that exact moment, King Willem-Alexander of the Netherlands froze. A stunned smile, disbelief in his eyes. What followed next would ripple through Europe's royal circles for weeks. This was no ordinary royal appearance. This was history rewriting itself, one breathtaking entrance at a time. No one had expected Leonor to travel to The Hague. It was supposed to be a quiet diplomatic evening celebrating Dutch unity and European collaboration. But what the King of the Netherlands, and all of Europe, didn't know was that Spain's future queen had chosen this night to make a statement. Dressed in a stunning white silk gown embroidered with silver threads representing peace and resilience, Leonor embodied both youth and power. Her presence alone silenced the murmurs of the crowd. For a moment, the entire royal room seemed to hold its breath. Willem-Alexander, known for his composed nature, visibly reacted, his eyes widened, and a faint smile betrayed a mix of admiration and surprise. "Spain has outdone itself," whispered Queen Maxima beside him, her tone laced with warmth and curiosity. Why had Leonor come? And why now? That question spread across Europe like wildfire. Some said it was symbolic, a gesture of unity between two monarchies navigating modern challenges. Others believed it was more personal, that Leonor's presence carried a deeper, unspoken message about her growth, her readiness to stand as a queen among kings. For the first time, she wasn't just the heir to Spain's throne, she was a royal presence commanding international respect. Every reporter in the hall felt it. Every guest sensed it. Even those who had doubted her maturity and influence could no longer ignore the aura that surrounded her. The young princess who once quietly followed her parents was now walking her own path, graceful, firm, unstoppable. Let's go back to that moment of arrival. A hush spread through the hall as the doors opened. The golden emblem of Spain gleamed on her sash. Her hair, swept into a low royal twist, caught the soft candlelight. The orchestra faltered for just a second, realizing who had entered. The cameras clicked in rhythm. Guests turned slowly, one after another, their expressions mirroring the same thought: she's here. King Willem-Alexander rose to greet her personally, something not even on the program. Their handshake was both formal and emotional, a symbolic bridge between two future monarchies. It wasn't just a gesture. It was a moment loaded with meaning. Spain's princess had stepped into the international stage not as an observer, but as an equal. What made this night extraordinary wasn't just her arrival. It was what happened after. During the official dinner, Leonor was seated between Crown Princess Amalia of the Netherlands and a senior European diplomat. Throughout the evening, whispers surrounded the table: how poised she was, how carefully she chose her words, how naturally she connected across cultures. At one point, Willem-Alexander was overheard telling a guest, "She carries herself like her mother, but her conviction, it's all her own." It was clear, this wasn't just a social appearance. This was Spain announcing that its future queen was ready to stand shoulder to shoulder with Europe's most influential royals. By the next morning, international headlines exploded. Princess Leonor's surprise visit stuns the Netherlands. Europe falls silent as Spain's future queen shines in The Hague. Willem-Alexander speechless at Leonor's arrival. Social media flooded with admiration and speculation. Was this part of a greater diplomatic mission? Was Leonor stepping into her global royal role sooner than expected? Royal experts began to debate her growing significance in the European sphere. Dr. Elise Dorman, a historian at Oxford, remarked, "Leonor is redefining royal presence for a new era, blending tradition with purpose. She's not waiting to inherit power, she's earning respect now." Behind the glittering lights and polite smiles, there was another story unfolding, a subtle shift within Europe's royal dynamics. Willem-Alexander, known for his mentorship among younger royals, reportedly took Leonor aside after the dinner. They spoke privately, surrounded by historic portraits of monarchs past. What did they discuss? No one knows. But one royal insider described the exchange as deeply symbolic, a generational bridge. It was said that Willem-Alexander praised her sense of duty and her poise, calling her the future of Europe's royal spirit. Even King Felipe and Queen Letizia, watching from Madrid, couldn't hide their pride. Sources close to Zarzuela Palace described the royal parents as deeply moved by the way their daughter carried herself. Queen Letizia, who has always guided Leonor through the challenges of modern monarchy, was said to have smiled quietly upon hearing that her daughter left such an impression. "She was born for this," a close aide reportedly whispered. And Felipe VI, Spain's thoughtful monarch, knew what the moment meant for his legacy. His daughter was no longer simply his heir. She was becoming Spain's living connection to the rest of Europe. As the evening progressed, Leonor participated in a brief conversation circle with European leaders. Observers noted the way she listened intently, responded with clarity, and never once appeared uncertain. "She has her mother's eloquence, her father's steadiness," said one diplomat, "but she adds something else, an authenticity that draws people in." Even Amalia, the Dutch crown princess, appeared inspired by Leonor's calm yet powerful presence. The two exchanged quiet smiles that seemed to say more than words, a bond between future queens. Europe was witnessing something rare, a moment when tradition met transformation. But the night's most emotional moment came unexpectedly. During the toast, King Willem-Alexander raised his glass and said, "To youth, to unity, and to those who will carry our crowns beyond our time." As he glanced toward Leonor, the hall fell silent again. Cameras flashed, but all eyes were fixed on the young woman who had stunned an entire continent by simply showing up. Her gentle smile in response was more powerful than any speech. That night, she didn't just represent Spain, she represented the next chapter of European royalty. Over the next weeks, the story dominated royal discussions. Analysts described it as the beginning of the Leonor effect, a phenomenon of renewed interest and admiration for the modern monarchy. Her charm wasn't about rebellion or controversy. It was about grace and substance in a world that often rewards spectacle. Willem-Alexander's admiration was genuine, but it carried a larger message, that Europe's future would be shaped not by age or gender, but by leadership grounded in empathy and intelligence. Months later, as Leonor returned to Madrid, her influence remained. Invitations from royal households increased. Her public appearances drew growing crowds. And behind palace walls, plans for her next international engagement began to form. Spain had found its symbol of hope, and Europe had found a new reason to look toward Madrid with admiration. They say there are moments when time seems to pause, when silence speaks volumes and destiny steps into the light. That night in The Hague was one of those moments. Princess Leonor didn't need to announce her arrival. She simply walked in, and the world, in awe, fell silent. A silence that wasn't empty, but full of recognition, respect, and the echo of history being made. Because sometimes, the future doesn't wait for permission. It simply enters the room, and changes everything.